All right, we're back. Task 2. So task 2, I called preparing to interview. Interviewing family members was so scary for me when I first started this. I actually tried to start with my mom. We did a couple Zoom interviews, and even with my mom, I was really awkward and I was making a bunch of mistakes. And so it was good to just do a couple of dry runs before I, dove in and did one of the really important interviews. But I'm not going to let that happen to you. We're going to step by step get us to the point where you are so ready to interview family and you feel prepared and there's a purpose and a plan and you know what to do after. So task 2, we're going to start with the graphic organizer that says identifying family to interview. Now, if you don't feel like you have any family to interview, you can skip ahead. I have another page called task 2. I have no one to talk to, which we'll get to. But if you do have some ideas of family that you're going to be interviewing, let's jump in together and look at this. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to list the oldest living family members that you have in your family. Now, remember, this is not just in your whole family. We're not looking at both sides of the family. We're just looking at one side of the family, one section of the family that you want to focus on right now. So if you're focusing on your dad's side, who are the oldest living family members who would know things about that? So you're going to go ahead and list their names here. And we need to plan a way to reach out. Now, especially with older family members, it can be really difficult and it can be hard to get a hold of them. So you have to think, well, would this person want a phone call? Would a letter be better? In person, maybe even a Facebook message. I had to get over my fear of Facebook when I started this journey. I didn't have a Facebook account. I didn't want a Facebook account, but it has helped me get into touch with so many people that I wouldn't have reached otherwise. So just a suggestion. Now, in the second box, I want you to think about any other family members who could help you to reach out. So for instance, I wanted to talk to my grandmother's brother, but he was older, in his 80s. So I actually reached out to my mom's cousin, his daughter, and asked if she would help me and kind of just explained what I was doing. And she was kind of the middle person for me, trying to set up these interviews with an older family member long distance. But before you do that, you need an elevator pitch. If you were stuck in an elevator and you had to explain what you were doing to someone pretty quickly, like 2 or 3 sentences, we need to get you an elevator pitch. And I used my elevator pitch so many times in this project because when I was reaching out to people, you needed to have a succinct, easy way to describe what you're doing and how they can help you get to that point. So for example, maybe you're researching your grandmother's immigration story. So you might want to say something like, I'm researching Grandma Rose's immigration story and would love to talk with you about what you remember. You just need to have something that, is going to be your go-to thing when you're reaching out to people. Okay, I can just kind of say this and it's not awkward and you can practice it and it just becomes second nature. It really does. Write your pitch in the 4th box. Take your time, pause this video, come back to it tomorrow if you want, think about it. Think about what you're doing, why it's important to you, and how this person can help you. Just those 3 things. And short and sweet usually does it. Now, the second part of task 2 is Ancestor research questions. And you're going to fill out a new page for each ancestor that you think is going to come up in this process. Now, remember, this is not every ancestor that you want to research. It's not every ancestor in your family tree. It's just the very small branch on one side of the family that we're focusing on. So, for instance, if you were delving into the immigration story for your Grandma Rose, what you'd want to do is you would want to fill out an ancestor page for her. So it's got her name, her birth date, her birth location, questions you might have about her, her mother's name and father's name. Fill these out for any ancestor or family member that you feel is relevant. Now, you may not know all the people you need to ask about. So while you're in this process, if a name comes up in an interview or someone gives you a hint or they give you a picture, it's someone you don't recognize, but you realize, wow, this is really important, go ahead and fill out an ancestor sheet for them to kind of keep their information organized so you can kind of follow who's getting folded into this story. And print out as many of these as you need. I included 2 or 3 in the workbook, but you can print out as many as you need. Task 2, I have no one to talk to. All right, so it's time to get creative. Sometimes we start this journey and we feel like we have no one to talk to, or maybe you really don't have anyone to talk to. Like maybe your family's really splintered, all kinds of reasons why you may not immediately have a bunch of names of people to reach out to. This process really won't work if you don't have anyone to talk to, but we're going to kind of brainstorm together and see if we can figure some out. So, do you know of any old family friends or neighbors of the family? Do you remember anybody like that who would always kind of show up to Thanksgiving or come to family parties, or a person that always lived next to your grandma's house and you saw all the time? Go ahead and write those people in the first box with the blue arrows. We're going to think about those people. Same thing as before, plan a way to reach out. You've got your elevator pitch. So if you call an old neighbor and you're like, "Hi, Mrs. Smith, this is so-and-so. I'm researching Grandma Rose's family immigration story. I would love to talk with you and, see if you can help me put some of the pieces together." Sometimes people will tell you they don't think they can help. We'll cover that in a second. So hang tight. Let's just finish this worksheet. Now, Google is your frenemy. What is a frenemy? It's a friend that's also your enemy. Google your family last name with a few relevant keywords. You may get some leads or some lies. We have to kind of parse through the information that we get. For example, when I was researching my family story, I would sometimes look up in quotes my great-grandmother's name, Lola Perot, and then in quotes again, I would type in Louisiana or type in Ancestry, and you want to make sure you have those in quotes because that's telling Google like you absolutely want these phrases included in the search. And sometimes you'll come across a web page of some rando person that just started pulling together history that has to do with your family story, and when your relatives will be listed on there. Sometimes you'll see ancestry forums where people are talking about a specific surname from a certain location. You really just never know. But you kind of have to be careful. That's why I said it's your frenemy, because not totally trustworthy, may get some bad leads, but it's a start if you have nothing. Same thing with Facebook. If you could search the family last name you're researching with a few relevant keywords like we did before, you may get some leads for people to contact. And I have done this so many times. I've had to cold contact people on Facebook. Sometimes they don't respond. Sometimes they see your message and ignore it. Sometimes you get a response that's nice, but they say, "Hey, I can't help." You have to be prepared to be rejected. But that's okay, because it just takes 1 or 2 good leads to crack open an incredible story. Task 2, we also have to talk about preparing for problems. You will have problems. Things are going to go wrong. Let's talk about it. So if you still can't find information on your family, I want you to brainstorm and search every possible spelling of the surname and list them in the first box. So, example, for my family, sometimes it was spelled Perot, and then it was spelled Perot, and then sometimes it was spelled Pere. So sometimes it's the spelling that's really keeping us from getting information. Now, if you'll jump down, see what are blue arrows, jump down right below. Where did this side of the family live? List locations and start searching local history. So for my family, Lola was born in Camp D, Louisiana. Then she moved to Monroe, Louisiana. Then she moved to Albany, New York. And I was actually able to find a lot of information using newspapers.com. And you need a membership, but it's totally worth it because you can search obituaries, and obituaries are a gold mine. Obituaries will tell you and show you family connections, who's grandchild, who's a family friend, and having the name and having some locations where they may have lived is key to finding those obituaries. Now, sometimes the problem is not that you can't find family. It's that you're going to hear some dirty laundry. You're going to hear a lot of dirty laundry. So how are you going to handle those surprising stories? It really is case by case. So sometimes you're going to hear stuff and people are still living, and that's going to be handled a little differently than if the people in the story are passed away. So I suggest writing down and saving everything you're told, but don't make them public immediately. So if you hear some crazy thing, like someone says, well, that wasn't even so-and-so's real child. You don't need to go telling everyone in your family, but write it down, keep it. And I would do something kind of like, as told by whoever you're interviewing on whatever date to me, write your full name, just kind of to keep track of who said it to you. Because as you start talking to more family members and getting more angles on the same story, the big picture will start to come into focus. And so you want to have all of these little facets of the story, even if they're not 100% accurate, they may still point you in the right direction. Now, what if you found the perfect family member to interview? You like, this person's got everything. Like, if I could just sit and talk with them, they would just tell me, but they refuse to talk to you. It has happened to me. Now, they may refuse to talk because they say, I don't have anything worth sharing. They may refuse to talk because they don't like that you're doing this. They may refuse to talk because there's a million reasons, Now, if somebody says they don't have anything worth sharing or whatever, I suggest responding to that, but not pushing them. So you might respond with something like, this would mean so much to me and future generations, just to get a chance to hear what you remember and, just kind of emphasize how important it is to you and to the family in general. And it's amazing because people who think that they don't have any information usually have some incredible information. We really want to just encourage our family members to contribute to saving the family history. And that's kind of where your elevator pitch comes in, of just having something that explains why you're doing this, why is it so important, and how can they help. Task 2 is a beast. We got more. So task 2, I included an in-person interview tools list. So preparing for an interview, you may do it on Zoom or you may do it in person, and we'll talk about both. But if you're doing it in person, you're going to need some things. And I just included a list with links. These are affiliate links. So if you purchase them, I may get a percentage of the sales to support the channel, which is awesome. Feel free to also just find them at Target or wherever you shop. But these are some things that I would say are must-haves, and a couple that are just really nice to have. So you must have a smartphone or an iPhone. If you are a little bit more advanced and you have a camera and you know how to use it, use that. But most of us don't have that. When I was starting, we had kind of a camera, didn't really know how to use that well, but we just set it up on a tripod. We didn't have people mic'd. The audio is one of the most important things when you are recording interviews. People can forgive a grainy video. They can, forgive shaky camera work.
But if you have bad audio, it's
basically worthless. And so if you're using a smartphone or an iPhone, you want to use a plug-in microphone. Basically, it just plugs into the bottom of the phone. Someone can hold it or have it pinned to their shirt just to get the audio very clear. You also want to have a ring light and tripod. Again, if you're using a camera, you probably already have some of this stuff. But if you're using an iPhone, you want to have a tripod. And this combination that I linked on the worksheet has a ring light as well. So basically, it's going to hold your smartphone for you. It's going to hold it steady. It's going to be pointed in the direction of the person you're interviewing. Hopefully, they'll have their little microphone on. And the ring light is just going to kind of fill in places where there's shadows on their face and make it look really nice. You also need to have an external hard drive. So my external hard drive, I actually have a ton of these. Now, if you don't know what this is, it plugs into your computer and you can pull things off your computer and store them on here. Because some of these videos and audio files are so big and they will just slow down your computer. You want to keep them safe on an external hard drive. Now, some things that are nice to have that I've used. An audio recorder, so there's no video, just audio. Now, if somebody doesn't want to be on video, some people don't, or if you want to have a backup to your iPhone recording, because it's always good to have a backup. We've had so many times where like I thought something was saved and it wasn't, or I ended up recording over something again, or I accidentally deleted something. And some of the stuff you can't get it again, right? And even if you interview someone twice, like the magic's gone, you know? So an audio recorder is really nice to have. And then also, we talked about this in the beginning, but having a binder to hold all your papers, just like a cheap plastic binder with the plastic sheets that go in so you can keep it, and just keeping all of the documents you're working on right now organized is awesome. So I highly recommend that. And the last part of task 2, we're almost done, are these interview planners. And I use these when I was planning my interviews. So you're just going to write what side of the family is this, and you're going to just keep track of the people that you have scheduled or that you were hoping to schedule. And it's just going to keep you organized so you can kind of see who you've done. All right, task 2's done. Take your time with this. Remember, there's no rush. Every step forward is important. So you're doing a great job. And I'll see you in task 3, where we're going to record an interview for family stories. I'll see you in task 3.